We're back on the Eddie Cornes podcast. And let me tell you something. I am pumped for this episode because I'm joined by a man who has been away for 2 months. He's been in Japan. He's been in Singapore. He's been off the grid, decompressing from what was a massive footy season. But exclusively, he is returning on the Eddie Cornes podcast, and he is guns blazing. Takes galore that I'm sure you will enjoy, unless you're related to Cam Green. Before we get into the episode, just want to remind you, we are now on YouTube. Go search it up, the Eddie Cornes podcast on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of February. So go support the channel, share the videos, like them up, subscribe, do the same on the audio feeds as well. All support is greatly appreciated. The growth of this podcast has been super encouraging the last few months. Let's keep it going. Love the support of you all. I really, really, really do appreciate it. And with all that said, let's jump into the episode. Kane Cornes coming up next. Kane Cornes, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back. Yeah, I've haven't been at work for 7 weeks, so I've got about 1 million opinions that have just been stored up and ready to go. So what better place than to share them than on your ever-growing podcast?
Well, let's start with the cricket. The Ashes just wrapped up. Australia win 4-1. You did a list last year on Sports Day, and you ranked the most overrated things in sport. After watching that Ashes series, does cricket and the Ashes as a whole start to get a mention on that list?
I had on the list the Boxing Day test, which I think sort of holds true again after the disaster with what happened in Melbourne with that 2-day test on Boxing Day. So I think the whole Boxing Day test is overrated. Is the Ashes overrated in general? Probably in Australia, just because it's always uncompetitive. Like they were embarrassing, really. Some of the cricketers that they sent out here just weren't up for it, and as a team, they weren't up for the fight. I didn't think we were a great Australian team either, but to win 4-1 and as dominant as it was a little bit disappointing. So you would have to think we get so excited for the Ashes and the England team coming out and all the talk. If you go back and listen to the build-up of it, turns out to be embarrassing just because, once again, it was an uncompetitive English side that came out here. And on the whole, you'd have to say that it was a little bit overrated and somewhat underwhelming.
You've had some strong opinions on Cam Green in the past. Were those opinions reaffirmed by this series?
Well, Ed, he averaged 24 and 70 with the ball. So what do you reckon? Now, the only thing with that, he just got pumped up so much. This is going back 2, 3, 4 years where everyone thought he was the next coming of Ricky Ponting, mixed with probably, I don't know, a speed demon who's bowling at 140 and is going to frighten the life out of the opposition batsman. He was never, ever that. So I just called it out at the time. I was ridiculed for that opinion. Everyone said, oh, you wait. Cam Green is the next big thing of Australian cricket. And it's nothing personal against him. He's just been earmarked to be our next greatest cricketer when he just doesn't have the skill set to be able to do that. So, he was one bowler where England scored really easily off, and with the bat, he got some starts, but mentally wasn't prepared to be able to concentrate long enough to go on and score big runs. So you'd have to think that his place in the side is not guaranteed at all, albeit he seems to be a darling with the selectors. I get it because of his age, and he's one of the only few under the age of 30 in the Australian cricket team. But he had a really disappointing series, there's no doubt about it.
Agree. And Bo Webster looked awesome in the game he played. And maybe I've been brainwashed a little bit by SEN Tassie with the work I've done with them over the past year. But I'm a big fan of his and think I would rather him over Cam Green any day. Now, there's also been some larger conversations taking place since the Ashes have ended, like all-time conversations when it comes to some of these cricketers. Where does Steve Smith rank now? Where does, some of the great bowlers like Mitchell Starc, Patrick Cummins? You have always kind of leaned towards the batters that weren't of my generation that I've watched, like the Justin Langers, the Matthew Haydens, the Ricky Pontings. Do you reckon you are slightly biased towards the older batters because of the way they played, and maybe the style Steve Smith bats with weighs into how you consider him in the all-time rankings?
Well, this is interesting because Steve Smith's record, and I don't have all the list of records in front of me right now, but his record is going to stack up with the greatest that we've ever had underneath Don Bradman. So in terms of the next best after Bradman, his record's going to be around that mark. But geez, insufferable to watch as a player. So I mark him down for style points. He is excruciating to watch. And when I say, and he was on a different level in Sydney, like I've never seen anything like it, like signalling to the umpire wides, and every time he misses the ball, it's the pitcher's fault, and he does this stupid little gesture as if the pitch is playing all sorts of tricks. I think he's a selfish batsman. If I'm up in the sheds waiting to bat behind him and he's doing all these little gestures that the pitch is playing all sorts of tricks, how do you think that goes for the batsmen that are waiting to come in or those at the other end? So I just think he's an awful watch. So I mark him down for that reason. And I think when you're looking at greatest sports people of all time, style comes into it. So a lot of people would hold Roger Federer in higher regard than Novak Djokovic, despite Djokovic's record being far superior to Federer's now, because he was a beautiful tennis player to watch. Gee, he was magnificent on the eye. And there'd be others in sport that aesthetically are much more pleasing than others, despite the others' records probably nudging in front. So Steve Smith's in that category. I'll never, ever have him on the level of Ricky Ponting and the like because of how insufferable he is to watch, and he's just not a pleasing batsman, albeit congratulations to him. His record is unbelievable. What do you reckon? And, do you think style comes into it when we're judging the best sports people of all time?
100%. And I think the number one sport this comes into play with is the NBA. Like James Harden had that streak of 2 years where he was almost averaging 40, playing unbelievable basketball, but the way he scored was so disgusting to me and to many fans across the world.
Disgusting. Why?
It was disgusting the way he would foul bait and try and get to the free throw line with just unethical basketball. That was torturous to watch, and it made me rank him much lower in my all-time rankings than the most diehard James Harden fans. And there's two examples of this right now. Arguably the two best players in the game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic, have styles that are not super pleasing. Now, Jokic, his passing is unbelievable, but the way he scores is pretty repetitive and boring. Shai is a foul baiter and scores a lot of his points at the free throw line. There's jokes all over social media that whenever you look up at an OKC game or look up at an OKC game, Shai's at the free throw line. And people don't like that. So they almost can't allow themselves to admit that he is the best player in the NBA at the moment. So it's an interesting conversation, and I definitely think it does play into many rankings when you look at certain people's lists and how they consider things.
Yeah, there's different ways of doing it. Do you just look at the record and the way that it stacks up? And if you hadn't seen them and grown up watching them play, how would you rate them versus when you were there and you lived it and you watched it? But yeah, I think absolutely the beauty of sport, those that look magnificent doing it, are always going to rank higher. And I think Steve Smith, unfortunately, is going to be a victim of that, as well as all the other the stuff, the sandpaper stuff. Probably some people rank him a little bit lower on that. I don't think he's as popular an Australian cricketer as what he would be if you're just looking at what his record probably dictates it should be.
Let's move off cricket. The biggest footy story while you're gone has been the whole Lachie Neale saga, what's unfolded off the field, and now Chris Fagan kind of admitting that the Lions would support him if he had to go home to Perth. I'm just going to clear out on this one and let you have your say. What do you make of the whole thing?
Yeah, it's not an easy one, is it? And what constitutes on-field and off-field issues. But, gee, I've never seen a tabloid media story crossover like this one has. Almost every day the media are just getting little morsels of the story and writing another article because it's just pure clickbait gold for the newspaper outlets and for social media and the media. Pretty disappointing, I would think, without having all the facts, and no one does. But I think footy players have a responsibility to conduct themselves as role models, as much as some people will push back on that. And clearly, Lachie's really let himself down. And the best footy clubs that have the most success, and Brisbane have been a pretty good example of that, it's a whole of club attitude, and that goes to families, to partners, to support staff, to the extended workplace at the footy club, and it all been together and all as one, and treating people with respect. And clearly there's been a lack of respect that's gone in there from Lachie, which is incredibly disappointing, and he's paying the price for that right now. So that's the off-field stuff, and I think he's admitted fault in that, and he's got some work to do, and the damage will never be repaired, unfortunately, when kids and families come into it. And there's different states now that his family's going to be living in, so that's going to be really difficult from a footy point of view. And Chris Fagan spoke yesterday that they would have his blessing if he chose to go back to Perth and play. I think it's an absolute win for Brisbane from a footy point of view. As much as you say, well, Lachie Neale's a dual Brownlow medalist and his performances in both grand finals have been nothing short of unbelievable. I thought he was the rightful Norm Smith medalist in 2024, and his second half in 25 with that calf injury was something that I haven't seen the likes of. But now, with the young players coming through at Brisbane, there are midfield minutes that need to be given to Ashcroft brothers, and Fletcher's going to end up being a midfielder. They've got another academy kid coming through. So there are midfield minutes there that need to be given to this young generation coming through. And Lachie, at 32, with the issues now with his body, it's the perfect opportunity at the end of this year for Brisbane to let him go. It suits his family life, and head to either West Coast or Fremantle, probably West Coast, you would think, with where they're at for another couple of years and extend his career. So I don't think it's a bad thing if he leaves at the end of this year, certainly from a footy point of view, and we'll see how it affects his on-field performance this year.
What a zag. I did not expect that at all, but I actually think I agree. That's, well,
even this year, there's a school of thought that when Lachie Neale had played, certainly from a defensive point of view throughout the midfield, that there was a vulnerability there. So Dunkley is this outstanding defensive midfielder. They've got Berry, also similar ilk, like they're renowned for their defensive attributes as well as some of their offensive stuff. Ashcroft, both of them, they're not defensively minded at all. So it's about getting that balance right through the midfield, and Lockie's the same. These star midfielders don't typically defend, that they haven't needed to. But that can come back to bite you if you don't get the balance right through the midfield. And now that the issues with his body have started to pile up, he had the quad, he had the calf, that's not going to get better with age. And the injection of youth that Brisbane have got, they can't be having Ashcrofts playing on the half-forward line. It's just not going to happen. So, and Lachie Neale's not going to want to do that. So I think as much as Chris is painting it as a favour to Lachie, I think it would also be a favour to Brisbane if he ends up heading back at nearly the age of 33 with the drama that's going to go on and the distraction that's going to be there this year for the footy club in and around that, and what a circus it's been. It's not going to be a bad thing if he leaves.
Who is the number one midfielder, star midfielder, when it comes to defending?
I admire Bontempelli, really. And not only just for the defensive aspects, but he just does whatever is required of him in whatever the game dictates. So if that's, okay, we need you to go forward, he goes forward. If that's, we need you to have 18 possessions, but really damaging ones in the forward half today versus 30, he'll do that. So I think from a player that has the ability to perform a task that's required on any given day, he's the best. But yeah, I think Dunkley's numbers at Brisbane would say that his an outstanding defensive, accountable midfielder. So there's a couple that spring to mind without much notice.
Like it. All right. Last thing before we get to our media awards. The NBL has been on fire recently. Our man Bryce Cotton is cooking. What have you made of his season so far?
Well, I just have been so impressed by this guy, and I think you have to go and watch him live to fully appreciate what he does. The stat that impresses me the most, he spends 2 minutes per game on the bench. So this guy doesn't come off. He doesn't. And this is a team that's on top of the ladder easily. They're I don't know, 3 or 4 games clear on top. So usually with that, you would rest the star players more and more. But he just does not come off. And his work rate and his temperament are unbelievable. And I think when you recruit big name players to your club, whatever sport it is, they need to be of great character. And we've seen some that work and some that don't. I'm interested to see Charlie Curnow at Sydney. Is Charlie Curnow ready to be that exemplary character who gives everything he can on field, off field, is a stable head and a good leader? I'm not sure. I haven't seen that yet. But when you are the marquee big name recruit, you've got to have that temperament. And what Bryce has been able to do from a leadership point of view, and if it's not his night to score, and a lot of teams have come after him with a double team and try to shut him down that way, he's more than happy to pass it off and let others be the star of the show on any given night. But just can't believe his performance and what he's done to the 36ers. The stadium's packed. The value of the team would have risen in the millions. There's no doubt about that. And couldn't be more impressed with his work rate and his leadership and what he's done to the Adelaide 36ers. So he's certainly one of my favourite athletes that I've seen play live.
Does he lead them to a championship?
Yeah, I don't know. They're going to be hard to beat. I mean, if it's not them, I'm not sure who else it is. I think they've been challenged a number of times this year, and they haven't been perfect. Like, they're not the perfect team. And early on in the season, some of their late game stuff, there was a few brain fades and cost them early. I think they've sort of tidied that up a little bit. DJ coming off the bench as captain's been another pretty good example of leadership, just to do what's required. I think that gives them some firepower off the bench. Yeah. And Humphreys has been impressive. So, yeah, I think they're in with a good shot. It's been a long, long time since the 36ers have won a championship. So, hopefully the lights have just gone out. So let me wave.
That used to happen all the time during my show.
Wave.
So annoying.
I'll wave my arms and they'll come back on.
There we go. We're back. This is the experience you get watching the video. By the way, 500 subscribers before the end of February. That is the goal on the Eddie Cornes Podcast YouTube channel. So go ahead, make sure you're subscribing. All right, media awards. This is just something we kind of do anyway, but we haven't really done it on a podcast before.
And you've given me no notice. I don't know what.
No notice.
Chuck things at me.
So basically, I've got 6 categories, 3 nominations for each category. Obviously, the content that is nominated is very biased towards what we are consuming. So there's no soccer stuff. There's no NRL stuff. I'm sure there was great content across those sports, but we just didn't consume it. So
I'm sure there was,
much,
but we don't care about it.
Exactly. So it's pretty much AFL, NBA, NFL focused.
All the good
I'm just going to jump straight into it. Also, sorry, I better clarify. You can be nominated for every category except the MVP. So, for example, in the moment of the year, the first nomination is We Just Started the Fireball.
He's a sook, came on, look, sing, killed a goodbye. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the corn was chirping. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it.
I think that has to be there. The next nomination is Nick Wright coming out on a sick bed after the Chiefs fall apart.
Once a proud show. It's come to this.
And the third moment is Shams tweeting the Luca trade. Any other nominations? And out of those 3, which one was the best?
Oh, gee, I probably needed some notice, I think. But the biggest trade ever is the Luca trade.
Yeah.
And I think when you are looking at social media and Twitter and then going and checking whether this is fake or not, shows how big of a moment it was that people were not believing it. No, is this real? It was the initial reaction. So, and the fallout from it's been significant. Your man Nico got moved aside, which you predicted that he would be some time ago on your podcast. So you nailed that one. So the fallouts has been strong on that one. So I think that was the media moment of the year, I reckon.
Yep. Agree. Breakout star. This one was a little tougher. Adam Simpson, John Longmire, JJ Watt. Now, JJ Watt's on CBS for the NFL, and John Longmire and Adam Simpson on Fox Footy on AFL 360 and on some of their games. Who's the breakout star?
Yeah, I haven't consumed a lot of JJ Watt. Can I say Tom Brady? I don't know. It's probably second year, and
I thought about it. I didn't know if he qualifies, but I think he has been really, really good this year and has improved a lot. So he was definitely considered. I don't know if he qualifies, though.
Maybe most improved more so for Tom. You and I spoke about him, I reckon, 12 months ago on your podcast, and he was struggling and he was battling to pick up the rhythm and the pace and when to talk and when not to talk and how detailed he needed to be for the viewer at home. But his passion has shone through, and I think he's been much improved this year. And we said at the time, everything he's done has been first class. So he will work hard to be great. So I've been impressed by him. Longmire and Simpson, I get, he's sort of, they deal in media anyway, so it doesn't feel like they're a genuine breakout star. And their segment was excellent on AFL 360. It was, one of the must-watch segments, and some of the stuff they did breaking down the tactics and the analytics of the game was impressive. They have the advantage of having, it's called Sports Code, which is a piece of software that all the coaches have, which breaks down every play from different camera angles on the computer, which not any media has, only footy clubs have it. So for Adam Simpson, he doesn't need to go and watch the whole game. He can just plug in, okay, I want to watch these 5 behinds from behind the goals and just go bang, 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 bang and come up on his Sports Code. So not a lot of people would know that. So that's been an advantage for them. But yeah, we'll see if they do more. I'm interested in see how Ken Hinkley goes in 100%. The media. Big signing for SEN and Fox Footy. So we'll have some different nominees this year. James Hird got back into it, did pretty well with Channel 9, and Nick Revolt coming back. He's not new, but was outstanding for Channel 7 after having a couple of years off. So there's some good performance all around the place, but not an obvious breakout star, I don't think, for me.
Agree. All right, next one. The take that aged the very best. Now, we always talk about this. The takes that age the best don't actually get remembered very much. So I've only got 2 nominations for this. The first one, Mitch Cleary says Curnow is going to leave. Curnow then tells the media no chance he's staying. And Mitch double downs again, and then he ends up leaving. So that's number 1. I know it's a journalist, so it's a kind of a grey area, but I think that's still a take. And then your take with all the receipts on the Crows Talk boards. Have you got any other takes that have aged the best, or is that the 2 that stand out?
Yeah, I'd have to go back through and remember all of them. But the Adelaide one was interesting. You and I did a pod this time last year, and it was getting a bit hairy there because Adelaide was so dominant, and they finished on top of the ladder, and at times the 3 forwards actually were firing and everyone was coming after you. So they're the ones where you go, okay, what do I do here? Do I back away and sort of readjust your initial view and sort of massage it, or do you double down? And double down, unfortunately, it's paid off. It'll be interesting to see what they do next year. I mean, Taylor Walker's gone again, which is somewhat of not a surprise, but the wrong call for the footy club. So whether Matthew Nicks is strong enough to say, hang on, we're best served having Fogarty and Thilthorpe, which was obvious to anyone that watches footy, the way that they should have gone last year. Will they do it again and be prepared to put a legend of the footy club like Taylor Walker through the sample? That's going to be one of the great tests for Matthew Nicks' coaching, and I reckon he's the coach under the most pressure. I know there's some big pressure gauge meetings on coaches. There always is, but when you finish top of the ladder and you don't win a quarter in the whole of the final series, and it's year 7 and you haven't won a final as a footy club with where you should be, there's a level of pressure there. So we'll see how that plays out. But no, there would have been some good opinions, but none that spring to mind.
I think you win that one. I'm giving the award to the Crows tall forwards, and it's a good example of sticking fat with your take. Like our man Bill Simmons before the year predicted that the Broncos will finish as the 1 seed and the Bears will make the playoffs. But because he didn't stick to it the whole year, the fact that it actually happened hasn't actually had much of an impact on his audience and his listenership. If he had every single week doubled down on that take, the reaction obviously would have been much stronger. However, it's a lot riskier. So I think you get it because of the risk reward if you're constantly doubling down, even when the Crows are at the top of the ladder and they were rolling.
Yeah, and if it doesn't and it goes the other way, then it's good content as well. Like people will come in to pile on and ring up and tell you that you are wrong, which is almost as engaging as it is probably more engaging for those out there listening than it is if you get it right. People would rather see you get it wrong than get it right. So, I think strong opinions are what we love. You don't always get them right, and even if you get them wrong, then you sort of embrace it.
Well, here's a few that definitely didn't get right. The take that aged the very worst this year. Gary Lyon, when it came to anything Melbourne related, he didn't think they would sack Goodwin, and he said he wasn't concerned about Petrarca's commitment to the football club. 0-2 there. Stuart Broad says England would win the Ashes 5-0, and Kendrick Perkins said the Mavs would win the Luca trade in the short term. Out of those three, which aged the worst?
Oh, probably Stuart Broad. As much as he was great, I thought he was an excellent addition to Channel 7 and SEN. A really nice nature about him, and apparently off camera just fit in perfectly as well. And he did say it was a fact that it was the worst Australian cricket side for, I'm not sure the timeline he put on that, but for certainly a long period of time. That didn't age well at all. For him, I was just reading in the paper today, the Herald Sun had a lot of the quotes from before the Ashes of some prominent English former players or media operators, and they all got it wrong. They were expecting a much more competitive series than what it was, and most of them predicted that England would win. So unfortunately for Stuart, he's new to the media game and got that one wrong. But once again, it's all good content, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to hurt his future prospects of getting media work because he got that opinion wrong. I think we all love the fact that he was prepared to have a strong opinion, and it really built up the Ashes series. So I think others that sit on the fence could learn a lot from that, as much as it didn't quite work out for him.
Most entertaining beef is next. You versus Bevo, Kingy versus Justin Longmire, and Pablo Torre versus Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson, if you aren't aware of that one. He basically did this entire investigation into what was happening behind the scenes with Bill Belichick's college team and how his 23-year-old girlfriend is running the scenes at the University of Carolina. So that was a pretty interesting beef.
He had a big year, didn't he, Pablo? Yes, he had some big, in terms of an investigative journalist year, be hard to top his performance. So that was awesome. His story on the Clippers was probably as big as any investigative story from a sports point of view as well, and we're still waiting for the fallout from that. So he was awesome. I loved Kingy versus Longmuir. I always get those confused. Yeah. That was a lot of fun, and we had some serious laughs about that on Fireball. So I will give it to Kingy for the Guts Up Cup and his continual hate of the Fremantle Dockers, which I will bring up with him again throughout 2026.
The Bulldogs have a lot of Channel 7 games this year. Are you two going to make up, you and Bevo?
I wouldn't have thought, but look, they're going to win I think they're going to win the premiership, the Bulldogs.
No.
I do. You can't have a list that good and not go all the way. So with what Sam Darcy is going to be, and he will be the most dominant player in the competition this year, you watch. And Marcus Bontempelli, you've got the best 1 and 2 players in the competition and some other absolute stars. Then they're loaded, and I would be thinking an early premiership prediction would be the Western Bulldogs. Surely they have to get it done with the list that they've got.
What do you say to the people that comment that you only pick the Bulldogs to put extra pressure on them and intensify the feedback if they fail?
No, I don't have to say anything. I just call it as I see it. The facts are they had 5 of the best 20 players in the competition. If everyone would kill for that. And unfortunately for them, they haven't been able to implement the defensive structures required to win. But I'm sure with the additions around the coach in the off-season, they've gone to work on the defensive issues that have been a problem for a long period of time at the Bulldogs. They'll fix that and let their talent take them all the way this year, I'm sure of it.
All right, last category. MVP. You're not eligible. Stephen A. Smith is the first one. Now, he's a very controversial figure. You either love him or you hate him. He did sign an $100 million contract and got a lot of views over the NFL and NBA season. So I think he probably has to be in the top 3, just basically on analytics. David King is next. Fireball, massive year. Also got a lot of clicks. Had some huge takes. Big events created from his own opinions. And then the third one also might be a little bit controversial, but this guy just dominated the media space for people my age. Dan Gorringe is third in the MVP conversation. He is the figure that everyone loves when it comes to my age bracket, and I think he has to be there. So the MVP nominations: Stephen A. Smith, David King, Dan Gorringe.
All good nominees. There's no doubt about it. Kingy had a huge year, and it was I think he expanded his offering this year, and from an entertainment point of view, I thought he was brilliant. Some of the stuff that he did and how creative he was, and Dan, it's been so interesting to watch him grow his business. It's like, wow, there's a new way of doing things, and you're right, everyone is clamoring to try and work with him and collaborate with him, and he's got big sponsorship deals, a growing podcast, and sporting teams looking to tap into his audience as well. And we saw the success that the All-Star game had in part because of his signature. So he's impressive. He's an impressive. I guess you sort of watch his content, you think, oh, this guy's a bit of a buffhead or whatever, a bit of a nuffy, but no, he's seriously savvy, seriously smart, clearly got good people around him. And I would think I would have to give it to him just from his ability to be able to grow his own business and the work that he's done. So, yeah, I think it's an inspirational story for others that didn't have a huge sporting career that still are interested in the space and the content creation space. He's been at the forefront of it. There's a lot of others trying to copy what he's doing as well, which I think is a compliment to him. We see a lot of similar content bobbing up with people trying to sort of rip off what he has done. But I thought he's been huge and has had a big year and been good to you as well, coming on your pod a couple of times, which has been very generous of him.
Agree. He's a legend. We appreciate what he does, and like any video he posts, I immediately get messages from people of them sending those videos to me, commenting on them. It's unbelievable the connection he has with his audience is really unique. And
are you wearing my t-shirt?
No, this is a new one.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah. It's taking us off track a little bit there. But anyway, Gorringe, he deserves the MVP 100%. You've got a big year coming up as well. Few different things happening with SEN, Channel 7. Can you give us a bit of insight into what your year is going to look like?
Yeah. Well, we wanted to expand Fireball to be and I don't think anyone, not that many people are aware of that, but I think the network they were really happy with the double offering on SEN Breakfast. So me and Kingy on Monday and Friday, and Gary and Tim with what they do on Tuesday to Thursday, and that was locked in. But we thought, how can we sort of expand Fireball and give a little bit more? So we thought we would try and get an afternoon show up from 5 till 6, and hopefully Kingy was up for that. In the end, he wasn't. I think, he's with his work on Fox Footy is pretty demanding there, and the amount of footy he watches. So he wasn't keen to do the afternoon show with me. So I'm going to do that. It's called Locked In from 5 till 6, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with a rotating co-host. I think Tom Morris is going to be on Tuesday. Luke Hodge will be awesome on Thursday because of our Channel 7 stuff. We're going to do that from the ground just ahead of Thursday night footy. So I have the teams and hopefully speak to both clubs ahead of Thursday night footy, which is going to be huge this year with the fixture. The AFL have nailed that after the disaster that was last year. And then on Wednesday, can't give too much away, but a big name in the works, which I don't think has been confirmed yet. So that'll be good, and Channel 7 will be pretty similar. Monday and Tuesday, Agenda Setters now expanding to Wednesday night. I think Tom Morris and Mitch Cleary are going to play a role in that, as will you. So you want to tell us what you're doing this year?
Well, that's also still a little bit up in the air at the moment. We're, well, I mean, look, I'm in demand. That's all I'll say. I'll definitely be on Agenda Setters all 3 days, which is super exciting, and that's an awesome show to work on. Yeah. I'm a little bit disappointed our man John Clark, who is definitely going to be coming on this podcast next year, won't be a part of it, at least after the first 4 weeks, but I'm sure we'll have some amazing talent.
He's a legend. So yeah, there's a bit of change off camera with Agenda Setters, just from a producing point of view. Still be produced by Rainmaker, which is the SEN TV arm, but a few personnel change behind the scenes. But it'll be good in for a big year. State of Origin kicking off on Feb 14 in Perth as well, so heading over for that. But should be good.
All right, Dad. Thank you for this. This was fun.
Try and get these lights back on. Well, yeah, there we go. Thanks, Ed. You off to work today?
I am. We're shooting with the Renegades today, which will be fun for a little bit of cricket stuff, which will be good.
Nice. We'll catch up soon.
All right. Thank you.